Well, welcome everybody. Hopefully everybody had a nice break. So this is going to be, we'll go through this week's module shortly here in a minute, but just a recap of the breakdown. So here we are right here. As class is remote this week, all remote. And then next week is the final week of class. And then since we don't have a final, there will not be any class week 17, so there's no final. But 12-13, keep that in your date. That's, I believe it's a Sunday. So any assignments that people owe, any past assignments that you haven't did or whatever, I'll accept all the way up to the 13th. I'm just looking at my calendar here. That's a Sunday. So it's basically, as long as you give it to me by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, I'll accept it. After that, I can't accept it because I have to turn grades in that week. So they're probably due like on the 15th. So I won't go back because it'll mess me up. I need to be able to go through. And what I'll do is on the Monday the 14th, I'll go through and see if I missed anything. And I'll send you guys an email and through Slack just to make sure you receive it. And I'll just say, hey, grades are final, but go through and verify and see if there's anything I missed. And it happens sometimes, and that's why I asked for you to verify it. So, for example, it might be like week 8 or something like that. But hey, I resubmitted that. I still have the same grade. Can you check it? Perfect. And then I could go in and fix it. But if Tuesday comes around and you don't tell me anything and I already submitted grades, then I'd have to go back and do a change request. And to me, it's a lot of work, and I would prefer that you check your email out and just get back to me as soon as possible. And everyone at this point has been pretty good with that. If they see a mistake, whether it's this class or other classes, they reach back out to me, and that's very helpful, and I appreciate that. At the end of the day, we're all human. Mistakes happen. So that is what we're doing. I haven't tallied the grades of people that, like those who checked in to the website showing that you were in class. But even for the majority of the time, we've pretty much had the same crowd. I've noticed maybe 3 or 4 or 5 people that never come to class. But for the majority of the people on here, everyone here comes to class regularly. So I know if there's, like, for example, let's say I go back to week 6 or 7, I see that Cole, for example, not calling out Cole, didn't sign in. I'm not going to hold it against him because most of the time I see him on, or Pedro, I see you on. So you'll still get the points for attending class. It could have been a slip up or whatever the case is. But like I said, most of you have been really good with it. So, and then you can also verify that as well. Any questions on that? All right, cool. No questions. Like right now. All right. So that's that part. The other thing is the final group presentation is next week. So this week we'll talk about the topic of discussion this week, and we'll do a lab. It won't be long at all, so we'll be in and out before you know it. And then next Monday at 6 o'clock when we start class, we will do the group presentations. And so with that what that will include will be whatever group it is, group A, whatever. Somebody from the group will share their screen, and you'll take me through your presentation. Well, all of us, not just me. Take us through your presentation, talk about your application, what you did, etc. But when you submit your work, it's important that you do a couple things. One of the things is ensure that you submit all your work. So you have a link to all your SQL code. You provide that information. For example, if you use GitHub, you provide the GitHub link with all your SQL code out there. You provide screenshots, or if you have your environment that you develop, all that information. Just make sure that you have everything. What I don't want to do is go through your final project and see that here's a PowerPoint of 3 slides, but I have no code or nothing that goes with it, and nobody responds back to me, and then you get low points, and then after things are over with, you're like, hey, here's my stuff. Because I've had that happen, not here, but I've had it happen at Point Park, but I've had it happen at another university as well. So please be mindful of that to make sure you have all your information, and just only have one person from your group submit it. So like next week when you submit your presentation, have that only one person instead of multiple people do it. It makes it a lot easier, a smoother transition. Any questions around that? How's everyone's final project come along? Good. All right, I'll believe. I'm fine with that. Anyone else? Anyone have hit any roadblocks? Any challenges? Or is it that easy? Okay, and please set it up. That's fine. Usually I don't do Tuesday hours, but this week I'll do Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday hours. So just let me know. Thanks for your honesty. Anyone else have any problems or issues or whatever? And the thing is that the reason I don't do the final exam and the midterm, I did do the midterm and final when I started with the database course, but I inherited someone else's design. To me, it's just, I think doing the work and the project allows you more opportunity to use what you learn throughout the semester. And unfortunately, some of the things, the semester is not set up properly where you can actually utilize stuff that you learned 4 or 5 weeks ago. You can, but like certain things you can't. You have to wait till you learn it, which is unfortunate. But it is what it is, I guess, at that point. And it would be different if we were all in person and COVID didn't exist, because then what I typically do is allow time for groups to get together in between a lecture and a lab to spend some time with their team, and so then you have that extra time to work with each other. So it's definitely different for sure. So yeah, go ahead. What email? Do you remember what when you sent it? Did you send it this week or? Okay, let me look you up real quick. Assignment 1125. Because I sent a sort procedure script along with the create database script. When I clicked on my submission, now it's all. All right, stay on after this, and if we could go over it, make sure we got it. Yeah, because you sent it on the 25th, and that was, I don't know what day. Every day seems to be the same to me, and I guarantee I probably 25th. Yeah, that was last week, so I definitely didn't get it. I mean, I got it obviously, but I shut everything off and kind of relax and pretend I didn't have a job. So yeah, I'll stay on after this is over and we could go through it, make sure I got it. Thanks for bringing it up. Anyone else have any questions? So I'll put it this way before we get started. If there's anyone that has questions and maybe they're bashful or shy or whatever, that's fine. Just stay after class, and then we could talk about it. All right. I'll go ahead and get started with this week. Week 13. So we have our module overview, what we'll be talking about. So introduction is fundamentals of DML, data manipulation language. Basically, in a nutshell, we're going to be talking about triggers this week, what a trigger is. So we'll learn how to create triggers. Talk about insert, update, and delete on triggers. Enable and disable event scheduler. We'll talk about that. Create events that are execute at specified time or recurring intervals, and we'll talk about how that works. We'll learn how a trigger can be used to enforce data consistency or to insert rows into an audit table. And we'll And that'll be actually a little thing that you'll set up today as well. And then we'll learn when to use a trigger in a database environment. That's the overview, learning resources, just the chapters that you're in your book, learning activities, just what we go over in class. Summary, same thing as normally. Don't have to explain this. Discussion, what is a SQL trigger? Why would you use it in a database? These are easy points, as most of us know. And if you submit one, usually what I'll do here is if, like we had 1 week and it wasn't this class, but it was another class, only had 3 students submit. So that kind of makes it difficult, or 2 or 3 students, it makes it difficult to get the 50 points because you get the 30 points for the first submission, and then 10 points for the next for a reply, and then 10 points for another reply. So it makes it very difficult. So what I typically do when it's only 2 or 3 students that submit it, I'll give you the full 50 points because I understand that you can only do so much. So, there's your discussion. Just submit 30, 40, 50 easy points. 2 assignments this week. This one right here. Oops, not this one. Actually, did I make them both like that? Hold on. All right, so then it's only this one. I must have made a boo-boo here. Follow assignments in class and submit to mod 12. Okay, all right. So I know what this is. This has to be changed right here. I just realized that. All right. So this one right here is. I'll change the date in a second here. This one right here is just whatever work I do in the class. You could go back and watch the video and submit that. That's fine. So you're just going to recreate what I did in class and utilize that information. So you don't have to actually physically do it while we're in class here, but you could watch the video and go back and create it. So whatever we do in the lab, that will be your assignment for assignment 13. Is there any questions on that? Okay. The second assignment is in class, I'll ask for you to set something up. And this one is different. This one, you have to have it completed by 9 p.m. tonight. If it's submitted after 9 p.m., then you'll get points taken off because it's something that you could follow along in class, maybe jot some notes down. You'll have to set up your own environment. It won't be the same thing that I'm doing, but you'll have to set up your own table in your own schema and so forth. And we'll talk about that when we get to it. But if you follow along, it should be pretty cut and dry. Any questions on that one? I have 8:30, but it's 9 p.m. So, and how this works is if you didn't come to class, which you did come to class, so that's fine. So, for example, I don't know, Megan didn't come to class, or John's not even in here anymore. But anyways, if you didn't come to class, and you get a 0 basically. So coming to class helps you get the extra points. All right, no questions. You guys are too easy. There's a quiz here. It's enabled, so you have, remember the quiz you have till the following class to take. So you have till Monday of next week to take it at 6 p.m. And so like last week during your break, it was already shut off, so you didn't have any time to take it if you missed it. Any questions before I get started? All right. I think silence is great. All right. So has anyone ever heard of a trigger before? Does anyone want to take a stab at what a trigger is? Is it like a trigger point in your back? All right. Nothing. Yeah. Go for it. Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. Absolutely. If a certain requirement is met, it will execute. So that can be like a conditional statement, and that's kind of true. It's not a false statement. It can be in that case. So a trigger basically is a special type of stored procedure. So we've learned about stored procedures, but these stored procedures can automatically run like when an event occurs. So that's one of the things that I mentioned, like event scheduler and so forth. So there might be an event that happens, and you might have this trigger kick off, and it's different because you can have, like we talked about, stored procedures, and you can have stored procedures where they run on event scheduler. So for example, if you're running it on a server, a Windows server, you may have a schedule in there, a scheduler that you could go in there and say, hey, at 6 p.m. every day, execute this stored procedure script, and it will execute, and it'll kick off and do X, Y, and Z. So if you remember Alicia, when she did her demo, she said that, like, I think it was 7:30 or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock or something like that every night, she runs a list of scripts manually, which I talked about, where she could, and she talked about automating it, where she could kick it off, which actually surprised me because I worked with her for a number of years, and that's what she did. One of the things that she did was we helped automate a process where we had things kick off automatically instead of manually doing it. And so in a trigger, it's a little bit different. Its dependency is a table. So the trigger is attached to the table, and typically what happens is anytime a change, a unique change happens to a table, and if the trigger is set up to support that table, then it will be utilized. So for example, let's say that anytime we add new data to a table, and we have a trigger, a specific trigger for that, what will happen is that trigger will get executed because it's an event. It's like, hey, someone's adding something to the table. So what do? Okay, now I follow what my specified rules are in the trigger, and then it does whatever action that it is taught, whatever action is provided for it. That's how a trigger works. So it's attached to the table. There's 3 different triggers. There's the insert trigger, insert on, they call it. And that's basically, if you have it set up to when data is inserted into the table, the trigger gets kicked off, and does an event, whatever that event is. There is an update trigger, and that trigger is what you think it is. If a table is being updated, and based off of what table is being updated and what rules are in place, then that trigger gets kicked off, and it does whatever it has to do. And then lastly, there's the delete statement. So anytime that something's being deleted, and this is probably, believe it or not, one of the more popular ones, is the delete one. If you remember, I talked about previously, deleting. I talked about there's hard delete, and I said there's soft delete. Does anyone remember what the difference is? Yes, you're absolutely right, Tyler. So he's absolutely right. So hard delete is completely gone. It's like having a hard drive, and you delete all the data, and you're like, crap, I can't go back. Where the soft delete, it tracks it, keeps it within the database table, and then it has a column, a status column that keeps it. A 1 means it's there, and a 0 means it's false. So when they query it, they say select where maybe it's table existence or table view equals 1 or something like that. They have some type of procedure in there, and that procedure runs all the time. And so that's how they identify whether it's in there or not. But over time, what happens there is it builds up. So if you get millions and millions of rows, and let's say that you have 5 million rows, and maybe 2.5 million rows were deleted, but those rows are still in that table, and they're still taking up time. So, like for example, we talked about indexes, and so tables have indexes on them, and the indexes are based off of the columns, and it changes the performance of the table, how fast it could run, and so forth. But we know that the more data that we get and the more rows that we get, it's going to have some type of slowdown somewhere along the road. So that could be a problem. And then you question yourself, well, how do I fix that problem? Do I make a backup of the table? Yeah, you could do that, but let's say that they need to get that data. So there's a lot of crazy things that go in place here, where you might, what typically we do in the industry is we have some type of archive process. We have an archive where it's automated after a certain amount of days, maybe 30 days, 90 days, whatever, a certain record. So every 30 days, like let's say that you have a record that was 30 days ago, and let's say it's 20 records. Those records get archived over to a backup table, whatever the case is. You could have a process like that, or you could have a trigger where the trigger, for example, the delete trigger. What could happen is when you go to delete the data, like a hard delete, the trigger gets called, and what it does is it takes a list of the rows that you're going to delete, and it copies it to a secondary table. So a transactional log is typically what it's called, and it's copied over to this transactional log. And what that does is it keeps a record of all the records that you deleted. So that way, you could use that table and you could query that table in your interface and say, okay, here's a list of rows that we deleted today. So you still have those records, and then you can bring those back later on. You can write a stored procedure that grabs all that data and merges it back into your existing environment. So those are two different ways of doing it, but that's why you would use a delete trigger. But sometimes what you'll learn is triggers could be good, they could be bad. Especially, that's why I said deletes are fine. It's not a big deal. But it can be a big deal is if you're deleting like a very large amount of data, then it's going to cause some problems. But inserts and updates can be troublesome. They're good for certain reasons, and other reasons they're not. And I'll give you a real actual answer. So my boss came to me, and it is being recorded. Yeah, so I'm not, you see this up, you see my screen? No worries, man, it's fine. Yeah, so I said I wasn't going to record directly through Teams, but someone said if you downloaded it, but I wanted to do it through here because it's a better resolution. Cool. So anyways, yeah, we had this table called A Bidwise Detail. I'll never forget it because it was crazy. And the table, when I came onto the company, the table was just enormous. It had like 45 to 50 columns. And it had, at the time when I came in, it was around 15 to 25 million records. So there's a lot of records. But that table was how the company made money. I mean, at the time, it was a startup company. We're valued at about $10 million company. But we had a lot of revenue coming in. Like one of our clients would pay us $11 million a month just to do work for them. And then based off the work that we did and how it worked out, we got profit. We could make anywhere from $1 to $5 million just that month. And then we built up our portfolio. But anyways, so my boss came to me and said, hey, we need to do a trigger, blah, blah, blah. We have to do an insert. We have to keep these logs. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. I could do that. Not thinking, not being a little naive and not thinking about the consequences. I was like, oh yeah, sure, I could do that. Then I started thinking about it. It's like, that could be a problem. And I explained to him why it could be a problem. And he said, no, just do it. It's an order. I was like, all right. So I did it, and it caused nothing but problems. So I'll show you how the environment, well, I can't show you, but the environment was set up terribly. And because I just came on board and as the DBA, so I didn't have time to build this environment out. So think about this. They have this database, and it's in SQL Server, and it's this table. It's called A Bidwise Detail, and like I said, about 25 million records. And so they have clients who are connecting. They're connecting to an interface called Extonet, which, out of curiosity, I wonder if it's still there. Probably not. I really would doubt it's still there. Yep, I figure it's not there. Look, it's Extonet. Oops, let me see. Just out of curiosity. Sorry, I'm just really curious. They sold the company, but okay, it's definitely not there. Anyways, so they had this crazy interface and called Exonet, and clients would go out to the Exonet and they would, search. We'll just say query data. Then we had internal applications. So we had a data science group using SAS. So they were also querying information. Then we had a reporting tool called SSRS. It was also pulling information. Then they were using SAS. It was also pulling information. You kind of see where I'm going here. And then we had developers that would just write queries all day for our client staff that would send a queue and say, hey, we need these queries pulled. So they're also querying stuff. And there's probably, you figure about, there was 5 of us, so a small company. So we'll say 5 developers querying information. So you have all this stuff going on, and there's a lot more going on. And then you have that one table happening, this very important thing. So imagine, so our classroom, if we're in a class, if it's 24 people, imagine 124 people in that room. And what everyone's trying to do is they're trying to, print something on the printer, and it's happening. There's just so much. There's only a queue that can only do so much. And you have this trigger. So anytime that someone goes and adds something, so now you have your client service group. So they're going and they're adding new product information. And this is where it hits the cake. They're adding new product information. You have all these people querying data. Everything's going fine. But boom, guess what happens? When they add the insert, that trigger kicks off. And what the trigger's doing is it scans the entire table. So now it has to scan 25 million records. It has to scan 25 million records. All this stuff's going on. And then what happens is, I'll show you how a nightmare happens real quick. So in Microsoft SQL Server, they have 4 main databases they use. So they use something called an MSDB. They use something called, it's been so long. They use something called the TempDB. They use something called the master database. And oh my God, I can't remember the 4th one. But anyways, they use these, it's going to bother me, but they use these databases. The most important one I'd say is the TempDB. It holds all the temporary space. And you typically, once it gets to a certain amount, which is once it gets to full, what happened is by running this trigger, within about 5 minutes, it got at 97% full. And what happens there, usually the only way of doing it is doing a truncate you have to truncate the TempDB. And then when you do it, you have to restart the server. So you kind of see where I'm going. All this happened after my boss told me to do this, and I told him no. I did it because he told me to do it, and all this stuff blew up, and it all blew up at one time, and that was from that trigger. And the worst part of it all is when all these different things were happening, like records were being inserted. This person's over here deleting records. This person's over here querying stuff. We lost data, and so that is. Now, does it mean that a trigger is going to happen like this every time? Absolutely not. But the best bad situation that could happen, well, this is how it happens. And I didn't smoke, but I wanted to go out and smoke about 6 cigarettes at that time. It was just bad because everything just went to hell real quick. So just know that when you're creating a trigger, and it's fine for this class because we don't have that amount of data. If you're working in industry, you're doing databases or whatever, be cautious of why you're creating it and how much data is involved and what's the environment. If it's a dedicated environment and no one's really using that environment, it's something that happens after hours, then it could be a good thing. But if it's a real-time environment and there's no data warehouses, no data marts, no views, no nothing set up where people are able to pull data from different resources, and that's the main resource pool, then you're going to have problems. So just take it from me. It does happen. Any questions on that? One more question? You have a question, Tyler? All right, so he doesn't know that he's talking. All right. So anyone else besides Tyler or Stevie have a question? All right, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and get started and have some fun. So let's create a new table here, a new query. I'm going to be using the Yelp, and I don't remember if you guys had Yelp data. Did you guys have Yelp data? Okay, that's fine. Well, and the thing is, I'm using Yelp, but you guys will create your own schema. So the job will be for the one assignment is create your own schema and your own table, and then create a trigger off that table. It doesn't have to be multiple tables. It could just be one table. Fine with that. And then you'll create the certain triggers that we'll create here in class. So one of the things I need to do is I have restaurants here, and I want to create another restaurant. I guess it's big here. So what I want to do is I want to create a backup because this table right here has existing triggers on it, and some of them may be the same trigger that I'm using, and I don't want to create the same one again like that. But first and foremost is if you click on a table, like a trigger only resides in the table itself. If you click on restaurants, you'll see columns, all this stuff here, and you click on triggers, and then you'll be able to see your triggers here. The only problem is with this, it's a little bit different than stored procedures and views. Unfortunately, you can't see what the existing trigger looks like. You can't look it up. You can't change it, whatever. So when you write your create your trigger, it's a good idea to save the script, so that way if you need to change it, you just open up your script, modify, execute it, and it just overwrites your existing trigger, which is a good practice. So with that in mind, I need to create a backup of restaurants so that I could use that table as that new table. And when you do that, it should create a no triggers. The triggers should not carry over. So I'm going to say create table. I'll just call it restaurants, and I'll just say secondary. And then I'll select everything from the current table, and then I'll just do a use here. I'm doing Yelp. Let me put this here. Step 1, create a backup. If you have an existing schema that you want to use. All right, so run that. So to execute it, I'll just refresh it. Perfect. So now I have restaurant secondary. If I click on it and click on triggers, I don't have any, so that's good. So I come clean with the trigger thing. So that'd be the first step. So if you already have a schema that is outside of what we've already did, then use that. But if you don't, if you want to use your Yelp, that's fine as well. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is just create a trigger on restaurant, and it's just going to do something simple. We're not going to do anything amazing with it. So let's do this. First trigger will be to, I don't know, modify. Let's see what we got here. Let me select everything from restaurants real quick and see what the data looks like. All right, I know it's kind of small to see. All right, so we'll create a trigger to change the, say the font to uppercase or something like that. So create trigger, and that's the thing about the trigger. It could be used for anything. It doesn't have to be used for just when someone adds data or whatever, You do certain things, but you could, in this case right here, we're going to do an update. So when an update's done, it automatically changes the whatchamacallit, the font to uppercase in this case. I'll show you what I mean. So we'll call it, another thing is I'll use TR just like everything else. We use VW for view, we use SP for store procedure, and I'll use TR for trigger so it represents what type of event it is. We'll say, oops, update restaurants. And this could be something that you create a store procedure and the store procedure gets called and then it automatically, this kicks off as well. So I'll do before, and sorry, I have a hard time here. Before insert, and so that means that before the insert happens on the update, or in this case, it's before the insert. I'm sorry, I said before insert. Yeah, before the insert happens on restaurants. So this one will be a insert, and then we'll do an update one. It'll automatically make this change, if that makes sense. So we'll see how it works. And then you do on. So oops. And then you'll put the name of the table that you are going to be making this change to. So obviously it's going to be the table that the trigger's on, but you have to also put it there. And if you have questions, just let me know. And then we'll do for each row. So this means all the rows. And we will do set new. So you have to use the word new because you're setting a new value basically. We'll say, let's do type of place. Type of place. And we'll do, you know what? Yeah, this is type of place because we only have three types of places. And we'll say equals upper. And then we'll do new again. And then we'll put the name of the field, the column. And it's the same thing, type of place. Just like that. And I don't know why it's, but that right there. All right, so this is our first trigger is insert trigger for anytime something is added. The type of place is modified to uppercase. Questions on that? So what you do to create the trigger, you just highlight it, execute it, and it doesn't work. That's usually what happens. Oh, please tell me this doesn't work. All right, the version of MySQL doesn't yet support multiple triggers. That's weird. Hold on. Oops. And do multiple triggers. All right. Type of MySQL does not support multiple triggers with the same action at time and event. Well, this isn't a multiple trigger. Set new type of place equals upper type of place. Let me see something here. I don't think it has anything to do with the name of the column. Whoops. Try this. Let me copy this real quick and put a new screen. Just to make sure. Because that should work. Alright, so we got a problem here. MySQL. Huh. Alright. There's something changed with MySQL. 5.6.5. Is everyone running 5.6.5 MySQL? Anyone running any other versions? A lower version? Can you guys check to see if you're running something different? Huh. Alright, that's a new one. Thank you. Triggers. Now, unless there's an update done. I did this class before and we never had a problem, so I wonder if something happened. Something changed. Huh. That is interesting. Bear with me. I'm gonna pause this for a second while I check what I'm trying to evaluate while I'm trying to debug here. Is I'm trying to evaluate whether the existing query on the database under restaurants, if the trigger works, and then that'll tell me something. So bear with me while we try to figure this out. Like I said, I don't typically. I try to wing these labs over stuff I've learned or what could be helpful, and this is something that I would have encountered if I would have prepared better. So my apologies on that one. So let's query this real quick. All right, so there's that. So I know that we have an update one there. So if I update the table, update restaurants, and set, we'll say type of place equals, we'll say bar where rest ID equals 4. We'll say bar and grill. So what should happen here is if the trigger that's in place works, it should change the, oh, you know what, we have to do something else real quick. It should change the restaurant name to lowercase, but right now it's not like that. So let's do this. Let's change that instead. So set type of place equals upper type of place. So let's do that. So let's change the, oh shoot, it's not even in here. Let's do Wolfie's. Let's change Wolfie's type of place of Korean to uppercase. And if, see, that's gonna be a problem, but we'll see. Because then it might not work. So, because it's supposed to lowercase it. Alright, so I know it works, and I'll show you why. Because I changed type of place to uppercase, but no, I didn't. I put 5. Hold on. Sorry with that. I'll try it again. Let's query it. Alright, so Wolfie's Korean is uppercase. That was just a manual one, but if you run the update, if an update happens, it's supposed to make it lowercase. If an update happens on that table, but it didn't. So I don't think it's working. So let's do this. Let's do let's just make a stupid option here. Real quick, let me see. Bear with me, sorry. Delete row, what is it? That's an int. Alright, so let's set delete row. Alright, so we're gonna say update restaurants, or restaurant ID is 5. So by doing this, what should happen is the TR update restaurants will kick off, and if it does kick off, it should make that lowercase, which is the type of place, and I don't think it's going to work. I mean, yeah, so this is where I can tell we made an update, but type of place was, or even restaurant name was still lowercase, and it should have made it uppercase. So that tells me there's something going on with the trigger, because it can't be used, because even though it's there, Wow. That is some crap there. Let me see something. Nothing. All right, give me a second. Sorry, guys. This might change our whole agenda for this week. Let's see if we could change it up a little bit. Sorry, bear with me. I'm just browsing some ideas of what people said. So I'm gonna create a different trigger to see if it's just me. I'll try something else. So just bear with me on this one. All right, so let's do use Yelp again. Let's do create trigger test. I'm just going at that for now. After insert on, I did before. I'm gonna see if this makes a difference. After insert on. Last time I did before inserts on restaurants, so do restaurant secondary. Okay, let's try something different here. And we can do for each row. We can do insert into. Let's see. Restaurants. We have archive. Let's do archive restaurants. I think it should be the same. Archive restaurants, and then the table names. Let's just double check. Or column names, sorry. Restaurant names. So I'm gonna query this real quick. Make sure that's what it is. Same thing. Perfect. So we will do, and I think this is an auto ID. Nope. So we'll have to do REST ID. What else we have? REST name, and then type of place. And then values. What an idiot. Let's just do this real quick. We just hard code it. Oh shoot, 6. Can't do it that way. Just do 6, and then brush name. We'll call it Bob's, and then sandwiches. Sands. All right, and then that will be it. let's see if this works. You know what? That won't work. I have to put, I know what it is. I also have to put a value in there. Hold on. Let me think about this. I don't think that'll work, but let's see. Sorry, I can't tell if that ran. Okay, it did. Oh, wow, hold on. It created the trigger. Created the secondary. Bear with me. So that's weird. Let me refresh it. Alright, so I'm not sure what the heck's going on here. So I created so when I did the after insert on it, it allowed me to do it. But when I did the before insert on, it didn't allow me to do that. So that makes me think that there was a change with the version. A version doesn't allow you to do a before insert on. So what basically that means is before the insert happens, it's supposed to run the procedure, the process. But it's shown that it can only work after the insert's on, which is fine. So when you add the data, then that step kicks off. So we'll try to revise what we had there and see if it works. But now let's see if it actually works, because it's saying that it should add Bob subs. So let's see if it works. Test it. Oh, let's throw away. You guys still there with me? I didn't lose you guys yet. Anyone fall asleep? These are real things that happen. Okay. All right. So let me insert into table. Let's see. Shoot. What's the name of the table? I'm sure that's a. Need to change that around. Let's. Oops. I might change this around if I can. Oops, oh my god. I'm gonna make that automatic because I don't want to keep adding it. Sure. Because there's data in there already, that's why. Shoot. Yeah, I figure. I see. In order to make this work, so if you go to try to change a column, like add, like for example, auto identifier, you have to wipe out the table. You have to truncate it to nothing and then start from scratch. That's the bad thing. I thought it might work, but it doesn't work. And that's fine. I just know what the heck it is. So I knew that. It's at 7, so we'll just do 8, 9, 10. Okay. All right. So insert to restaurant secondary, and what the hell am I doing here? I want to put the name of the fields, which rest ID, rest name, type of place, and delete row. I'll just make that 0 for now. And our values in this case will be 8. Restaurant name will be Big Jim's. Type of place, bar, and then I'll just make that a 0. Oops. There we go. All right. So what should hypothetically happen here is after we add the data to restaurant secondary, which let's just query it real quick. Copy it. If we copy it and run it, see what we get. All right, so we got Jake's Pizza. So what will happen is we should add Jake's Pizza here, Big Jim's, bar, and 0. But our backup table, which is our archive right here, and we have this hard code. Obviously, we'd want to max that out and have it choose something different every time. But typically you wouldn't, because you'd use a sort procedure for that. So typically you wouldn't do it that way. But it's just to kind of show you how this works. So let me do select all archive restaurants. And what I'm going to do here is just make sure Big Jim's is not there yet. All right, Big Jim, Billy Bob's is there, but not Big Jim's. Perfect. All right, so test it right here. We're just going to add, see if this works. All right, so it shows that we added it to that table. So let's query the secondary table where we added that. And there's Big Jim, so it added it. So if the trigger worked fine, it would also add it to the archive restaurants, which we're going to check. And I don't see it, so it must have not worked. All right. So, oh, no, it didn't. I don't see Big Jim's. I see everyone else, but not Big Jim's. So it did not work. Did we even create it? I know we created it. I thought we created it. Let's see here. Yeah, TR test right there. And it's a after insert. After the insert happens, it's supposed to kick it off. And after the insert on restaurant secondary, that's what we did. Restaurant secondary. It's an insert into. It's supposed to do it. So I'm just gonna play around here, even though I know this is the same data. Let's see if something changes. Row was affected. Huh. That is so crazy. So there's still a problem. Even though we were able to create it, we're still having issues on it working. Beautiful. All right. So something is jacked up. You know what? I'm just curious of something. Oh, what the heck? Oh, what the heck happened there? All right. We're going to play a game here after insert on. Let's do. I want to say before insert on. I want to see if it makes a difference here. Sorry guys, I don't know what's going on here. Alright, so this is really weird. It allowed me to do the before insert on like I wanted to do. And I think I know what the problem is now. Maybe. So let's try something here. Say Big Al's. So let's add it to the table again. Added it. So it'll probably Big Al's will probably be there. That type of night. Oh shoot, it is working. I'm an idiot. Jeez. No one pointed out to me how dumb I am. So it did work when we did the before, I think, because Bob's was created, but you know what? Let's just do this to make sure I'm not losing my mind. Let's trigger refresh this. And I don't know which one worked though, to be honest with you. Because now we have two of them. So let's delete from the table. So delete from, I'm thinking a new one. The old one might have worked. Where rest, oh geez, that's crazy. Equals 6, everything equals 6. That's fine. All right, so let's go to secondary real quick. Let's do 8 and 9 as well. Well, we'll just do 9. Yeah, we'll do both. Well, hold on, let me think about this. All right, hold on. I think I'm losing my marbles. Maybe it's not working. What am I doing? Select archive restaurants. All right, Bob's. I want to delete from Bob's. So let's do Bob's. So we'll say where rest ID is in 6, equals 6, I'm sorry. All right, delete from archive restaurants where rest ID equals 6. Should delete them all. All right, so Bob's is dead, which is good. Let's check secondary real quick. Big Jim's, I don't care. We don't have Big Al's. Oh, we do have Big Al's in there. So we'll just call it Big Frank's this time. I don't care about that. We'll make it 11. But what I want to do is see if the, we have 2 different triggers here. And I think what I want to do is, because we had the before insert, and then we had the other one. So I might want to delete it first. So let's drop the, let me see if I can delete the trigger real quick. Drop trigger tr test 2. So that's the first one. All right, and then I'm going to delete this one as well. So this should drop it. Now if we refresh it, we should have no triggers. Perfect. So originally we had insert on. Originally we tried to do insert on and it did not work. And then we did insert off. So let's use that again. Let's change it up a little bit. I'll put 8 and I'll call it PPU and I'll call it education. All right, so let's create this trigger and see if it works. I'm gonna create it real quick. All right, so let's do this. All right, so I'm not sure what the heck I was doing. All right, so we got that to work. Trigger's out there. Now, hypothetically, if we insert a new record into the restaurant secondary called Big Frank's, it should also add value 8 PPU to education, hypothetically speaking. All right, so now we did secondary. That worked. So we could query the secondary table to see if it worked. And it did, so Big Frank's is there. So now if we queried it, archive restaurants, we should have PPU and education. And that worked as well. Now, why did this not work the first time? I don't know. Maybe I did something wrong and someone could tell me, but that is how it should have worked in the first place. Any questions on this very challenging trigger? They're usually not this challenging, but that was challenging. And the thing is, it's all about debugging. That's the key to success when it comes to this stuff. Yep. Yes, exactly. Good question. So, oops. So you have the trigger name. You have before an action happens on a table, and then you have when an action happens, what you're going to insert. This works, and I think I know why the other one didn't work, and we'll try it in a minute here. I'm going to pause this. I have to take a quick bathroom break. So at this point, go ahead and start real quick. I'm going to see about that one trigger that I was creating earlier. I did a TR insert. I just want to see if it changes anything. So, and I think it has something to do with what I did. So for each row, set the, we'll put new, new dot rest name, and this is what I did before, equals upper new dot rest name. Huh. So this is what I tried to do before and it didn't work. It still doesn't work, that's fine. I want to see if it works this way. Oh. What's it say? After's, come on. After is not a valid position. Expecting delete, insert, or update. You're awesome. Yeah, that might help. Nice job. Nice pickup. Actually, after insert on. But we had before insert on. That didn't work. Okay. Nice catch. That didn't work either. So, look, so something definitely changed because you used to be able to set new equals something, so it provides a new value. Something changed. I did that before, and it worked perfectly fine. So it's a little challenging what we could get complicated, because this here should work. Out of curiosity, let me see something. Let's see if we could change, instead of using a function, what if we could change rest name equals, well, here's the thing, you don't want to do that. Let's try something else. This one I'll have to come back to because I really don't know why it's not working. Oh, that's fine. For some reason. So don't worry about that one. I'll have to come back to that one. The next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to create well, we created a restaurant table. So what I was looking for you guys to do is create a transactional log. And so that transactional log could be like you have one table and then a secondary table. You add something to it. But the problem with that is, thinking out loud, we don't want to add the same value each time. So what we want to do is, and see, this is where it doesn't work right. Let me see here. Before insert. Yeah, so there's something not working right. Because we should be able to see the problem here I'm having is if I wanted to copy the existing, let's say that you insert a row and I want to copy that exact record, I have to use the new command in order to copy it, or it will not work. And that to me is a problem. Let's see if that works. Let's try something. So what this trigger wants to do is this trigger wants to capture the exact results, the exact info entered to the backup table. So we have the archive restaurants, and so what I want to do here is if I insert a new record in the secondary table, I want to be able to copy that same exact record without me physically typing the value to the next table. And that's what I ultimately want to happen here. So let's do that. So let's say number 12, we'll call it, we have to create the trigger in a minute here. I'll call it Mango Creek Cellars. And we'll call that winery. So that'll be our test. But let's create the trigger. So I'll do create trigger TR, and we'll call it after update. I think that's what we want to do, after update. Let's try after update and see if that works first. Let's try after insert on. Yeah, trigger. There we go. It's dumb trigger in. We'll say after insert on. Before insert on. Sorry. Yeah, we have to do after insert on this one because we have to copy the record. And we'll say restaurant secondary. And we'll say for each row. And this is where I'm assuming it's not going to work. Into. And then we'll do restaurants archive, sorry. Yeah, there we go. Insert into restaurants. Then what we'll do is oh boy, what do we do? New .rest ID. So you can either use new or old. Old is when you do updates, and new is when you do an insert. But we'll see if it works. And I'm assuming it's not going to work, and it's going to blow up my whole week here. Rest name, and then new. Then we could do. Let me see here. There's a. Oh, you know what? We could do it like this. We could do new, and maybe this is why it's not working. Sorry, I apologize, I'm talking to myself. Rest ID, we could do rest name and type of place. So I could use it one time like that. And then our values can be new.rest ID. And then we can have rest name and type of place, just like that. All right, let's see if that works. All right, so hypothetically what I want this to do, if it even works, let's see if it even works, if it allows me to create it, first of all. It did allow me to create it. Shocker. All right, so what we ultimately want to happen here is after we insert a new record into secondary, we want to copy the new record that was used into archive restaurant. Okay, so we want to keep a snapshot, a transaction of that log. So we know that's 9. So I'm going to use, I know these are not all in order. So I said 13. So what should happen is this Mango Creek Cellars should also get copied over to archive restaurants. Now I see a problem here. No, okay, not a problem. So let's see if it works. So let's test it. Query ran. So let's check the secondary table where it's actually being added to. And boom, it worked there. And then let's go to the archive table. And I don't see it there. So the PPU education is being added because we have that existing insert trigger, which is this one right here. So probably what I want to do here is, because this might get called and it doesn't even care about this one. So let me drop that one real quick and see if that plays a role. Drop that trigger. Let me refresh it here. See what trigger that we have. We have TR after insert rest. So let's just add a different value real quick and see if that allows me to do it. All right, so we know that worked. Well, it shows it worked. And it shows it again, but number 14. Let's see if it works in the archive. All right, so here's the problem. This is interesting. So you can show that something happened, but it added a 0 and null. So it tells me that something's happening. Maybe the trigger's set up wrong and it's not grabbing the value. So let me think about what the heck I did wrong here. Let me try this. I'm gonna drop that and try something real quick and see if I. Well, let me think about this. Do rest ID. Let's see. I'm just curious. Let's just do this. I'm gonna drop it real quick. Maybe set easy. Alright, so trigger's dropped. Let's run this, create this trigger here. Let's refresh it real quick, make sure it's gone. Yep. So now we'll execute it. Trigger's there. I just keep changing this while I play with this. So now I'm gonna insert in here. I know the secondary table is being inserted in, so I'm not worried about that. I'm gonna try the archive table. Wow, so it's definitely not working. Huh. All right. Let's see something if it lets me recreate it. All right, so for that. All right, so let's do. Just give me a second to double check something here. I wonder if the before trigger works. I don't know. Pulling strings here, guys. I don't know what's happening. All right, let's do this. Run this query real quick. Throws it out there. At this point, I don't care. I'm just gonna throw it in there real quick to see if That fixes it. Alright, so something is not working. It is capturing everything at 0, so it's not on the insert. It's not working because it's not capturing. It definitely has to be after. It should never be before. Well, let's test. Well, I'll go back to that one. Oh, that wasn't even the right one. I'm going to go back to that one in a minute, but we're going to try to update one real quick and see if the update one works, because I'm striking out here, guys. So let's copy this code right here. All right, so trigger update. All right, so we'll say after update. We got to get something right here. This one right here will be after update on. And this one will be on restaurant secondary after update for each row. We'll do, let's say insert into archive restaurants. Let's say old, and let's do old. So let's choose a value, something. In this case, we're updating an existing record. So let's see what record's over here. So we have Y. We have 8 education. Let's see, that should be over here. 8 education. It's not. What is it? I can't get lucky. Let's see. Billy Bob's is over here. Let's see if we use Billy Bob's. 4 points is over here. We'll use 4 points, guys. Hold on. All right, we'll use 4 points. All right. What we're going to do is update 4 points, and we'll see if that works. Sorry, I'm a little lost here. All right, so did I do it right? Yeah. All right, so let's see if we can run an update statement real quick. Update this table right here. And we'll set rest name equals PPU brewery, right? Or rest ID equals 1. So we update it, updates it. So restaurant secondary, look for number 1. It should have PPU brewery. Perfect. Let's see if it did over here. If it didn't, then I am lost for sure. And it didn't, so something's not right. I don't know, guys. Forget about the first assignment here that you have to do tonight. Let's focus on the. Actually, I'm just gonna purge it right here, or forget about it because I'm not providing some good stuff here. I'm not sure what's going on. Something is not right. After update on. This stuff should work. Let's try one other thing. Let me drop this table. Alright, so let's do this. Let's over here, let's make these all old. Maybe that's my problem. Well, let's make sure it doesn't exist before I recreate it again. All right, so it after insert, okay. So I'm going to do the after update rest real quick. It's out there. I'm going to call it PP Winery. Update it. And now let's go over to Archive Restaurants and see if that's over there. Alright, well that's effing crazy because now PPU Brewery's here and it wasn't here 5 seconds ago. Alright, give me a second here. What the hell's going on? Alright, so it's weird. Alright, so now is it working again? Let's just do this here. I'm gonna change this again. Let's go back to restaurants. Alright, so it is working, but not the way I want it to work. You see what it's doing here is it's not keeping the rest ID. It's passing over the new information, but the IDs are blank. So wonder if I have to make this new. But old should capture the existing one. That's what I thought. So let's do, because type of place, it doesn't matter because that wasn't there anyways. So let's do this. I'm going to purchase it one more time. And I'm going to make that like that. And this could be because I haven't did this in forever and I'm losing my marbles. So let's just make it 3 real quick. So we do an update. We'll go over to Archive Restaurants and see if PP Winery 3 is in there. Or was it 2? 3. I didn't see it. So that tells me that what we originally had was right, but it didn't update. So this is like another process that you have to add to your step. I thought the trigger would have did that for us. Nope. So I put new here, but it still didn't even pick it up. The only way it works is under old. So the key to this is setting up. Let's see what the key to this is. Let's make sure it works. I'll show you what we could probably try to do. We set up another table and wipe it out. So update this real quick. Alright, so I'm losing my mind. It's still not working. I'm just getting rid of the whole table. Alright, so now we should have a clean slate at this point. Yep, cool. So let's do update again. Alright, so clean slate, it works. So here's what we need to do is we need to set an auto ID and create our own thing here. So let's truncate that table one more time. How's that at? I know we did a lot of stuff to even get to this point. I'll review what I did here shortly. But the assignment that was due tonight, forget about that because I think I wasted everyone's time. Let's do this truncate table. Oops, not that one. Archive Restaurants, real quick. right, so we updated that, truncated that, so we're at 0. So now what I'm going to do here is go over to archive restaurants real quick. Nothing, perfect. We're going to change change this design around real quick. Hopefully that allows us to change it. REST ID is going to be our primary key, and it's also going to be a auto incrementer number. Sure. All right. So now when we add it, it should automatically create. What will happen is it won't create the REST ID, which is fine because we just want the value to be added, the REST name, which is fine. If we have to type place, no big deal. So if we go into update REST secondary, we change the REST name to equal PPU winery, or REST ID equals 1. What it's going to do is it's just going to, all it's doing here on this trigger update, it's saying, hey, every time that an update happens, insert into the archive record, it's the old value and the new value. So all it's doing here is just doing the REST name. That is so weird. I still have an idea how to fix it, but at this point I don't care. But so if I do this right here, and then I come over to archive restaurants, it should work. It does, and then you see it's using our own ID. I think probably what you can do is and I'll do this offline because I'm gonna play around with this a little bit more. I think that what we could probably do is, instead of doing old here, just take old off, but I honestly don't know offhand. So all right, let's see here. So quick trigger before insert on trigger. This one was just a hard code away. Trigger wants to capture exact information from the backup table, built to capture the restaurant name and type of place, and then that update stuff. That one query didn't work, so let me get a clean slate going here. Copy this, create a new query. I'm going to delete some of that stuff there. So we'll delete this. And make that like that. All right, so these are queries that we have here. So this trigger right here is before insert. So when something's at insert into the table, this is just a hard-coded example. Insert into the archive restaurants. And it inserts this. The only problem is it'll keep inserting the same thing all the time. So you probably don't want to use this one. So you can look back on the video here. I'm going to remove that one. This one right here gets the information that we want after insert. Does the new, and this one right here is an update. It does the update. I think that's right. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. What else can we bring up? I know we're almost done. I said this would be a quick one, but this one was a long one. And for some reason that uppercase problem didn't work. Any questions at this point? Yeah, the assignment for tonight, forget I even mentioned it. The assignment next week is due by Monday. I mean, you don't have to present your assignment or nothing like that. We'll be around the insert and the update, and then I'm going to try to do a delete here, and then we'll be done. So there's only one assignment. And it'll just be basically, this assignment will be to show me what I said at the beginning of class is do the same thing and create these. So what I want you to do is create basically a replica of what 3 triggers that we're going to create here. This will be the last trigger, the delete one, and then just when you submit your work, just have the query, and then have a snapshot that you did it. So like you could just put it in a PDF. Put some people will do a screenshot of the query, and then below just do the result. What happened? Create trigger. Right, so let's do a delete and see if that works. Absolutely, but there's a lot of following because you see there was a lot of me going all over the place. But yes, yeah. Okay, cool. Welcome. All right, so last one. Create trigger. And then this one will be output trigger, delete. And so in this trigger right here, we'll say after the delete, we'll see if it works. On what table, we'll say restaurants secondary. And we'll say for each row. And then we could do a begin, oops. And in this case here, let me think what we want to add here. Probably I'm trying to think if we want to do a hard delete. Let's see here. What if we could do the same thing? We can't. Let's see here. Let me think about this. This one might be a little bit different. Actually, no. After delete on restaurant secondary. So anytime a record is purged, we can't just put a delete statement. We want to make a change, an update. So, for example, we can say update our archive table. Not duplicate. Update archive restaurants, and we could say you know what we can do here. Let me see. We might want to make a change to our table. So let's do. I'm gonna change it real quick. Alter it. I'm gonna add a new row real quick. Row visibility. I'll just put visible, and we'll put it as. Let's see here. Boolean. So we'll make it a Boolean value, visible. Let's save it. Sure. So first thing I want to do is before I even create the trigger on that, I want to test it out and make sure it works. What the hell did I do with the trigger? All right there. So what I want to do here is I want to make sure that if I would use that, I want to make sure it's going to work. So select everything from archive restaurants. We have visible. So if I did update this table here, and we did set visible equals true, where rest ID, which doesn't matter because there's only one. Will that work? All right, so I queried it. True. All right, so it did. So you see, I made it true, and it added a 1 value. 0 would be false. So I'm gonna put false for now. so that we can set it true. Perfect. So right now it's 0. Typically it'd just be a null value. So what I want to do here is say update archive restaurants, sets visible. I don't know if this will even work. Visible equal true. And end it there. But I don't know if that will work after a delete happens. The heck is going on? I did do that. You don't like it. Alright, so let's see if it creates the trigger. Alright, of course it did. Alright, please tell me it doesn't not work. Let's take the begin statement off. Let's see if this works. Alright, so I had to take a begin and end statement off. Alright, so archive restaurants, update archive restaurants. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete something there. So we'll say delete from the secondary table. Where, I'll grab something here. Let's see what we're deleting real quick. I have a lot to delete. I'll put where row ID equals 15. All right. Deletes it. I could come down to the secondary and see if it was deleted. It's gone. Let's go over to archive restaurants. And it's true. But see, this is not accurate. And the reason being is, well, the statement is not completed yet. The delete statement is not completed, right? Because if you look at it, it creates a trigger and it says, and it works right. It says update the archive restaurants and set the value true. But we didn't tell it what to update. And so it's going to set anything true, and this is where you have to put where the what the heck is it? Rest ID equals old dot rest ID. So what happens here is, oops, this will take the current value rest ID and equal whatever old rest ID is. So in this case, what will happen is, oh my God, I can't find the table again. Oh, right here. It'll see that this is not the same value, and it will not touch it. Only if the value is the same, then it'll touch it. It'll change it. Any questions? So, homework, create the 3 triggers, insert, update, and shoot, I can't even talk. Delete. In your homework, screenshot of the trigger, create it, and result below. That's it. So there's 3 triggers to create, and that's it. I know this video is very long. It's an hour and 44 minutes. I don't think we've ever had a class in an hour and 44 minutes. Kidding. That is all I have. Any questions at all? I know it'll take a while to get to this, but it's fine. No questions? So, reminder, next week, I'm actually going to end this session here. Stop recording.